got a question on training triceps without making elbow pain. So obviously, you can do your compound movements like your close grip benches, things like that. You can do dips, that kind of stuff. So this was more specifically to extensions and how we're working those variations, having people bench really big weights and not having any kind of elbow problems. That was a great question. So here's a few tips I have for you. Number one is shift the mindset. So you got to shift your mindset to thinking like this, okay? You are not in the gym if you're training for powerlifting, because this was bench press specific for powerlifting. If you're training for a bigger bench press, you're not training for a bigger tricep extension. So you need to realize these are just a means to an end. It's not in itself, because I've had elbow surgery for making the mistake of just trying to number chase and then, you know, not doing everything with perfect form, making sure I'm warmed up and all that stuff. So luckily through my pain, it's been able to bring results to others. So I'm very thankful I had that experience to be able to help enhance other people's lifts and kind of pass the torch and way surpass anything I've ever done. So think of it like this. A technical inadequacy is going to equal a weakness. So that's how you got to shift your mindset. It's no longer, I heard so-and-so did skull crushers with 225. I'm going to do 235. No, it's I'm going to feel this muscle, feel this movement as much as possible. And if my technique breakdowns, that's how I'm inadequate. Not by using less weight. This is here to serve you. You don't want to become a slave to the tricep extension. The tricep extension is a slave to you to help your bench press. Okay, so this is a means to an end. You are not number chasing. Bad motor patterns take away from your objectives, okay? So focus on that, and remember, shift your mindset. 2, use light, again, this is all tied in, so you use lighter weights on a single joint exercises. So if you have any kind of elbow issues, I would definitely recommend we do like, so if somebody else was going to do some sort of extension, we would do a push down before the extension, not for the sake of pre-exhausting, this is for the sake of like warming up the joints. So you'd hit the push down before the extension, okay? And then on any sort of extension, if we're having any trouble, what we'll do is we'll slow it down to the negative. So I realize some good comments here about eccentric overload, saying, okay, if you do like a 5-second negative on this exercise, it's actually not a major eccentric overload, because like if you're really doing a crazy eccentric overload, it's like on supermax weights on a weight releaser, it's like we'd be doing a real fat, you know, dropping a weight, catching it real quick at the end. That would obviously be the extreme eccentric overload. The purpose more of those, though, is besides prolonging some time under tension, is to actually feel the movement work. Because one of the best ways to improve the mind-muscle connection is by engaging in a 4 or 5 second eccentric and really feeling those triceps work on the way down. Or you can also do this, is really just flex your triceps as hard as you can before you do the exercise, and then that will help. And then obviously muscle intention, you're actually focusing on the muscle you're working. But that isometric flex, that 5-second negative, can really help enhance that mind-muscle connection with your intentionality we assume you have, okay? Proper warm-up, okay? So you're not gonna jump straight in. I would recommend doing these exercises after your compound movement, after you're warmed up. Do a couple warm-up sets before engaging in them. And you know, you just need to be warmed up. So if you're gonna do, say you're gonna do like a dumbbell floor pause tricep extension, you're gonna do it with 50 pounds, you need a couple warm-up sets like before that, even if you've already done the bench press. Okay, then the other warm-up could be if you have any sort of elbow pain or you're older, doing a tricep push down prior to that. Okay, so then the next one would be training continuous tension movements instead of ones that induce a huge stretch overload. So for instance, you know, doing like a very heavy overhead tricep extension with a curl bar behind your head, that's gonna probably hurt your elbows if you have any elbow pain. Doing extremely heavy skull crushers, think about it. You're getting the biggest overload at the bottom of the movement where you're weakest and most vulnerable, but you can do continuous tension. Like, say, one of my favorites is a decline chain tricep extension. That's huge. That can help you. Continuous tension, and it's gonna be much more elbow friendly. Okay, another one we have videos on here of this is the chain tricep extension. Go to see if you ever look at our playlists. They're organized by body part, a lot of them. Go to the triceps playlist. You can see the chains tricep extension. So think about that with the chains. Even though it's on a continuous tension on a cable, as you go down to the bottom, most weakest, most vulnerable potential, link by link by link by link, they unload in the ground. So where you need the least amount of overload, it's the lightest. And as you go up and you get stronger and your leverage improves, link by link by link, those suckers come right off the ground. It's hellacious overload through the entire range of motion. So that's huge. Okay. Next, reloads. You may have to do it more often, so you know, and then on your reload weeks, you can get the weight a little bit lighter. You know, you're gonna take the weight a little bit lighter. But you may, if you're having any kind of pain, you may have to do it more frequently than you had before. So if you're doing it every 6 weeks, you have to go back to every 4 weeks, that type of thing. And then on your reload weeks, make sure you back the weight off too, especially on these these movements can cause elbow issues. Finally, a very important one that's often overlooked is I feel like today's culture we have one side that makes fun of science all the time, thinks any sort of like studies that it's undernourished, malnourished college kids that don't have a clue, or then you have other people that that think like anything in the trenches that wasn't like certified by a lab coat's just a bunch of knuckle draggers just making crap up. Okay, so really the reality is both of these are big circle jerks. You gotta find the happy medium. So that's going to become is finding what works for you. So as you do different tricep movements, you are going to find out what works for you and what causes the least amount of pain. You also may notice patterns along the way. So for instance, if a certain angle, like an incline, always hurts your shoulder, an incline might cause a problem with triceps or whatever. You got to pick up these little patterns, because I think that's a lot of the key to like doing well and programming this kind of stuff is in success in business or hell, even like if you're having trouble getting dates, is pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is huge. It's something no one talks about. I'll start talking about it more. I first put that in the Metroflex Power Building Basics book. That's a huge thing, is a lot of people do the same crap over and over and expect a different result. And that's a definition of insanity, because every time you walk in the singles bar, you get a big beer mug and slam it on the table and say, hey, you want to drink beer with me? And you get shot down every time. You probably need to do a different pickup line. Same with this kind of stuff. Thank you. Have a good day. God bless.